What is an unfair advantage to hire you? I was interviewing for a job and the interviewer asked me, what is an unfair advantage to hire you? I thought about it for a second and said, well, I guess I have a pretty good memory. He asked me to elaborate, so I told him that I could remember things pretty well after just reading or hearing them once. He seemed interested and asked me to give him an example. I told him about a time when I was in college and I had to memorize a 10-minute speech for a class. I read it over a few times and then was able to recite it perfectly without any notes. He seemed impressed and asked me if I could remember things from a long time ago. I told him that I could, and he asked me if I could remember what I had for lunch on a random day 5 years ago. I thought about it for a second and then said, actually, I can. I had a turkey sandwich with lettuce, tomato, and mayo on whole wheat bread. I also had a bag of chips and a Coke. He seemed surprised and asked me how I could remember something like that. I told him that I just had a good memory. He then asked me if I could remember what he had for lunch on that same day. I thought about it for a second and then said, actually, I can. You had a ham and cheese sandwich on rye bread with mustard. You also had a bag of pretzels and a Diet Coke. He looked at me in shock and said, that's exactly what I had for lunch on that day. How did you know that? I just smiled and said, I told you I had a good memory. I got the job.